if rooting for some magic, you're probably rooting for some Sooner magic as well if you're an Oklahoma fan. They go on the road to Tennessee this week, and we already broke that game down. But if you've watched this show, you know we're in the business of trying to talk about what's not being talked about. You catch my drift here? We're trying to be maybe a level deeper than all those headline takes. So I want us to right now break down what's being missed in the Oklahoma-Tennessee game. We'll start with Oklahoma. The headline take is John Mateer's got to get back healthy. He's got to look more like himself. And we've said all that. That's 110% true. But I think what's being missed when you speak about Oklahoma, hey, y'all, they kind of found something in the run game at the end of the Ole Miss game. They went to Xavier Robinson, not Robinson, Robinson, a little bit more heavily. He had over 100 yards on like 9 carries. Had a big explosive run, but he just looked different running the football. Ran better behind his pads, was more north and south. Thought he was better when it comes to yards after contact than what they've had out there. If you can find a way to run the football, if you're Oklahoma, you're going to have more windows open up downfield in the passing game. And that was kind of the whole issue for Oklahoma against Ole Miss. I watched them play offensive football, and there was no real base for them to operate from. Like their one touchdown they had in that first half, well, not one, but one of the touchdowns they had in that game early on was a broken play, off script, Mateer's rolling to his right, finds his man, he scores. Like, that's all well and good. I love that. You got to have some Mateer magic. But this offense is built to run the football and have plays develop off of that run game. If you can't run the football, you got problems. Xavier Robinson, bringing something to the table there, to me makes me think that the Oklahoma offense is going to find a way to score. Because we've talked about Tennessee and how bad they are on the back end. They're allowing 281 a game. If you can run the football and command more attention in the box and get more real estate downfield for John Mateer and company, I understand the hand. We got to rehab it a little bit. We got to get that whole thing warm and look more like ourselves. But I think having bigger windows to throw to only makes me feel better about John Mateer and his progress and the Oklahoma offense as a whole. So what's being missed? Oklahoma might have found something in the run game, which makes me think that John Mateer could have a much better showing this game than he's had maybe the last couple of weeks. Now, what's being missed when it comes to Tennessee, the Oklahoma defense is really good. Oklahoma defense is one of the best in college football. That is the headline take. How does Joey Aguilar and Josh Heupel measure up with all that Oklahoma brings to the table? In a very convenient fashion here, I think Tennessee has the answers to the questions Oklahoma is going to present. And the Ole Miss game is a great example of that. Oklahoma wants to bring pressure, wants to try and confuse you a little bit, be a little bit exotic. How do you answer pressure and confusion and all those things? Get the ball out of your quarterback's hands quick, give them answers pre-snap. Tennessee, with the way they line it up with wide splits and the way they run the football and all those things, they have all the opportunity in the world to do exactly what Ole Miss just did to Oklahoma, rather. Like Joey Aguilar, I think, is teed up here to have a very big day. I don't think it'll be a whole lot of 3 and a hitch. Go ahead and launch it downfield to Chris Browse like you've seen over the different points of the year for Tennessee. But the way that Oklahoma applies pressure, the space that Tennessee aligns with, I think will present some problems there. Like, it's hard to bring pressure from depth in general, but it's much more difficult to bring pressure from that second and third level when you're reading that overhang defender all the way out by the hash mark if you're Joey Aguilar and he's trying to come off the edge. You can't do that. You can't do that and then not tip your hand too much, Joey Aguilar, and have some explosive plays happen, is my whole point here. So your question here is like, okay, that's great, JD, that Oklahoma's going to score and Tennessee has answers for the offensive side of the ball against Oklahoma. So what? So what is I'd keep an eye on that over. That's the first and foremost part of this. 56.5. I might look at that over a little bit closely, just between you and me. What I think is going to happen here is we're going to have a situation where this game becomes a shootout. And a shootout to me here, if I'm Joey Aguilar, I feel pretty good about my chances with my offense and my weapons. But at the same time, if you told Oklahoma fans we're going to be in a shootout, I don't think they're batting an eye with John Mateer pulling the trigger. So it's going to be a lot of fun to watch these teams go back and forth offensively. And one more thought here, both teams are desperate. Both teams have 2 losses. This is a playoff elimination game for both sides of this. People are saying the playoff starts in December and after conference title weekend. No, this playoff starts for Oklahoma and Tennessee this weekend in Neyland Stadium with the dark mode unis activated for Joey Aguilar and company. So when you're desperate, you find ways to push back or push past, rather, maybe some of the things that you've shown to this point in the year. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Oklahoma play with an inspired effort offensively and do some things we haven't seen them do in a couple of weeks. Same deal for Tennessee. Maybe the defense shows up and does some things that they haven't done to this point in the year. Maybe they look better. But again, I'm sticking to shootout kind of fashion and desperate attitude for both teams will make for an awesome ball game. It's why it's our BetMGM game of the week. Oklahoma found a way to run the football. Tennessee, offense might just have the exact right answers that you need when it comes to being ready for what Oklahoma's going to have on the defensive side of the football.